Hey y'all. Miss Marvel episode 5. Where do we start? Well, let's start by the fact that the first 15 minutes of the episode, which is about 30-ish minutes, is not even about Kamala. And honestly, this is probably my favorite part of the episode because it was done in a beautiful way. I felt like I was transported into a movie. I was even making jokes about the fact that now when I start my chronological rewatch of the MCU, there's 1942 is now the earliest point in the timeline, unless you count the Eternals and like the BC and that sort of thing. Despite this up-type opening, I feel like this episode has missed so much of what the show is supposed to be, or I believed that the show was going to be something, and now I don't know if we're going to get there in time. This week's episode genuinely felt like it wasn't even 20 minutes, and that's because we were only with Kamala for a certain amount of time. In last week's review, which went up probably like an hour before you're going to see this, I talked about how it feels like we're building up to the Scarlet Witch moment in WandaVision, where like there's this big moment building up to when Agatha goes, "You're the Scarlet Witch," and then we all realized we'd sort of been duped because no one in the universe had called her the Scarlet Witch, but we all knew she was the Scarlet Witch. Like, there was no confusing that, and it felt like you were building up to this big reveal that we all already knew what the reveal was. That's how I feel in this show. We got to the part where Kamala sees her grandmother as a toddler at the train station during partition, separated from her father, terrified, and then she sees the stars, and the stars are of course from Kamala. I figured that the stars were like some child's interpretation of Kamala, because Kamala's been called Nightlight this whole season, okay? And Nightlight stars, you know, those glow stars that you stick on your ceiling as a kid, like, I felt like we all knew we were kind of going in that direction, and maybe it's just me and I made that assumption and then I'm the one that slept down. The story we're getting is this very convoluted one, and I do appreciate the fact that we understand that Kamala is like a descendant of these Jinn people because of her great-grandmother being one separating from the pack. I liked that. To me, I kind of thought they were going to tie it back to Eternals and be like, oh, Jinn are actually kind of exactly the same as Eternals, that they're just called something else. I thought that would have been a really smart tie. It didn't go that direction. That one's on me, trying to find a reason that the Eternals connects to the rest of the MCU. Still haven't found it yet. I don't know. I just feel like this leaves, in the last episode of this show, I think most of us are sure that Captain Marvel is going to show up. I don't even know if that's true, but maybe at least Monica Rambeau. So we got to see that. We've got to see her defeat the Jinn, who we've already kind of seen. The only thing that can defeat them is the like tear into the other universe, something I still don't really explain. I should probably go rewatch that episode. And I'm really not understanding how this series is going to wrap up. I really want it to get back to the point where it's her as a Jersey City teenager, and I understand that going back to Karachi and Pakistan is her connection to her family, which is as much a part of Kamala as being a superhero and as being an Avengers fanatic, but I'm just not really understanding how all this is going to be tied up into a ending that feels like it wasn't cheated. Also, the consequences of this series that initially were so strong, like we had the strict parent dynamic, we understood that Kamala couldn't necessarily get away with a lot of the things that another teenager, maybe like Spider-Man, could, with Aunt May not necessarily paying as much attention to him. In this series, from the start, we've been told that like Kamala has this difficult relationship with her parents because she's constantly pushing the boundaries. Like, that was all great stuff. And then this episode, when it's revealed that she was Nightlight, or the superhero all along, her mom's like, sweet. No conversation is had of like, how did you get these powers? When did you get these powers? Like, blah, 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 blah. I'm just supposed to understand that the bangle, I guess, just unlocks her powers. And it's not until you have the bangle that you can use powers that are already within you. So the bangle is magical, but the magic is actually coming from you. Okay. And then I'm confused because like Cameron's mom transfers her powers to her son, but he doesn't have a bangle. So like, how does he harness and unleash that power without like a tool? I would like these rules explained. Again, I did enjoy getting to see her great-grandparents meet and have a family and fall in love and realize that that's like, these relationships are the thing that keeps me coming back to the MCU. However, the only parts I seem to like are that relationship between them, which kind of has nothing to do with the plot of the show, as well as seeing Kamala get the pieces of her costume. I love that. I love getting to see like the little pieces come together, and I'm sure we'll get the big reveal next week, which does feel like we're building towards something. I just cannot with this plot. I'm not understanding. If you understand, please comment down below and explain the plot of this show to me a little bit more. I will maybe try to rewatch this one once it's all out and completed, because I do feel like there might be something to say for this series being one that's easier to binge and understand. But I'm just sad because I really like the direction of the early part of this show. And next episode, we're supposed to completely shift gears to Kamala protecting Cameron and Bruno and Nakia and all of Jersey City from the Jinn. Thank you so much for watching this review. If you liked it, if you agreed with me, if you disagreed with me but thought maybe I had something to my argument, I would really appreciate if you liked this video. It helps the video be seen by more people and the channel. Also, you could consider subscribing because I will be doing a review next week of the finale of Miss Marvel, as well as future Marvel content to come. I hope you have an absolutely amazing day or night whenever you're getting to watch this, and I will see you in my very next video. Bye, everybody.